Okay, it is now 5 o'clock. I will give you a second. Go right ahead. Okay, it is now 5:32. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Urban Growth Boundary Sphere of Influence of Wednesday, September 11th, 2024 to order. Actually, is this not classified as a special meeting? We voted to have an additional, so it is a regular meeting. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Would you all join me in the pledge? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay, could we please have a roll call?
Committee member DeBreeze.
Here.
Committee member Maderos.
Here.
Committee member Morris Lopez.
Here.
Committee member Sabathia
Here.
and Chair Martirana.
Here. It says here I'm supposed to welcome the newly appointed committee member EJ Sabathia. Thank you for joining us. And welcome. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So next item is public comments. Do we have any public comment? I see no one in the chambers.
Nobody in Zoom.
And no hands on Zoom. Okay. Consents. There are 2 items, the consent agenda. Would anybody on the committee like to pull an item for separate vote or separate discussion? Any member of the public wish to pull an item for vote or discussion, separate vote or discussion? Anybody? Looks like not. You've sorry, bear with me 1 second. So the consent agenda consists of approve the
Was that to my city?
affidavit of posting and the regular meeting minutes. Gentlemen,
Sorry.
it's all right. Do you need a second or?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. What's the question?
Yes, he has a righty, Jay?
I think so. Oh, yes, an hour ago.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
It was recent. Yeah, for sure.
yes, I was driving.
You have a.
We're good.
You need a moment? No, not at all. It's fine. That's fine. We are a little less formal than the city
That's
council.
scary. Council's pretty informed.
Oh boy. I would, okay, seems a lot more rigid than when I was on the council, but that's okay. Oh, for sure. Anyway, okay, do we have a motion and a second? The consent agenda?
Second.
Okay, so with a motion from committee member DeVries and a second from committee member Morris Lopez to accept the consent agenda, we have a roll call vote, please.
Committee member DeBreeze.
Yes.
Committee member Maderos.
Yes.
Committee member Morris Lopez.
Yes.
Committee member Sabathia.
I can abstain, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that.
And Chair Martirana.
Yes.
Motion carried.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but our deputy city clerk gives me this script that a monkey could do what I'm doing. So this is pretty great. Thank you.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, right. At least there's some intelligence there somewhere.
Oh, speaking of which, Chair, I wanted to introduce to you Ryan Donlin from Kennedy Archer Giffen. He's sitting in for John Giffen today. Hi, Ryan. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you.
Oh, that's the attorney or city's the firm. Yeah, gotcha. Love the poster in the background there.
I realized that as I sat down, totally unintentional. It's always there, but kind of appropriate for today.
Yes. So our next agenda item is review and discuss draft memorandum of understanding between the county of San Benito and the city of San Juan Bautista regarding outside of its sphere of influence. Let's see, why don't we start with a staff report? Don, do you have anything?
Sure, sure. I provided a draft of thoughts after meeting with Commissioner DeVries. Remember, when we went through this at our last meeting, the committee agreed for Dan and I to get together and try and hash out some language. And we would then have two proposals. We would have the original proposal with the 3 tiers. And a planning area that's divided into 3 tiers, depending on how close the parcels are to the city's political boundary. And then this new proposal that came out at our last meeting to try and abandon the tier process, because at least in Commissioner, I'll speak for the committee member, DeVries, was thinking that the city council wanted something more simple, more straightforward. And so his proposal was to get away from the 3-tier proposal, and to rename things either from planning area to area of concern, and then eliminate the blue portions on the map, which are 4 or 5 parcels extremely far from the city's political boundaries furthest. We, after drafting that and sharing it with Dan, we got together Friday and Monday and hashed it out 2 more times. And so what you have before you is my original version, sent out Friday in the packet. And then a red line version from our meeting on Monday, the 9th. And so you can see the difference between what we sent out Friday, and then the red line version that I went through and tried to implement Dan and my conversations for the committee consideration today. So we have now a pretty refined draft. We did refer back to calling it the planning area after reviewing the general plan and so forth, and that concurring that the general plan and the map 2.2 would need to be revised to match the sphere of influence described in the resolution 2023-71, so adopted last November. So happy to walk through this for you. It's the first time you've seen it. We all took good notes at the last meeting, and there were 6 or 7 points that came up, and somehow it grew to 9 or 12 points. And basically what we're trying to do is as we review a proposed development from the county, we're providing formal comments to them in the form of letters, and 3 letters possibly would follow any proposed development. The 3rd letter being that of support or not supporting the letter, the project. So we've moved away from approval and denial of a project to supporting and not supporting a project. So those are the key elements of this proposal. And I don't know, Dan, if you want to walk through it, any more detail, or if the committee would like to walk through it in detail, I'm happy to.
I'd like to hold that thought for a moment. I think there's a little confusion.
I don't have a red line with the word.
It's purple, actually.
It's purple line.
Oh,
There it is.
I have 3 versions here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so which one are we talking about?
Purple
All
line.
3?
Purple line will be most helpful.
With the date 9/9/24 on top. The package doesn't have.
Okay. But they all have 9/9/24 on.
This is what I have.
That's
I
not.
have 2 purples. Do you have?
So it's only got 1 though. There's a bunch more. There's another one
Okay.
there that I think is the sort of latest thing.
Yeah,
Right?
I got it.
There you go. Okay, little.
This is still just an excerpt from the MOU though, right?
So there's 1 purple and 1 not purple?
No, this is a.
It's a new document.
It's a new document. Yeah. So
We're starting at 5.
We're starting at 5. I don't. Sorry.
Starting at section 5.
Oh.
Yes, this is just the policies for processing and development applications outside the city sphere. The original MOU had several other.
Whereas.
Yeah, before that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
So okay. So
so just as I'm coming up to speed, the preamble stuff is out and we're just starting here, or we're only editing this stuff?
I think we're sort of clean sheeting is where the preamble stuff came from the city attorney. Largely came from the city attorney. So that stuff is not really reflected here in what we're looking at tonight.
So would we still include the preamble stuff?
I don't know. That's open to discussion. It's all. Yeah, we haven't,
It just kind of sets the stage.
yeah, I think it's a good idea because it sets the commonality of the vision of the county and the city's vision.
So in our prior packet, committee members, in the August 28th packet, section 1 describes who the parties are, obviously. The city and the county. Number 2 describes the purpose of the MOU to establish policies to guide development. Number 3 is the term of the MOU.
Yes.
Number 4 is the definition of development and structure.
All right.
So I'm okay going, I don't wanna drag the process down. I'm okay going through 1 through 4 on my own and providing comments. I just wanted to understand
Absolutely.
exactly what we're talking about,
Yeah, absolutely.
what's going on. So I could probably find the previous 1 through 4 and make comments there.
Sure.
We can, I just wanna make sure, like, when I see this as a whole, it's like, seems like we're starting at 5 and we're.
Right. So I had the August 28th agenda here in my packet, so
Yeah, I think the idea is that the legalese is sort of the legalese. And if you've got comments, it's great, but this is the meat of it. This is
Okay.
where the two organizations actually interact. And so that's what we've got before us now. And so there's, and it is a very, very different, after the feedback we got from the council, this is a sort of a distillation of that conversation. And so it was presented at the last meeting sort of verbally. Now we have it on paper, so it makes to be able to go through it in a little more, with a little more specificity and discuss it a little more directly, because it was a little amorphous. And now, especially now with you joining us, we get that additional input.
Yeah, I think this is what I was already looking at, so I'm good.
Okay, yeah, oh, right, exactly. So you've got it on your laptop there.
Yeah, so I'm
Okay.
paper.
So I think I would like to take 5 minutes to just sort of read through this, or 10 minutes to read through this, if nobody objects.
And we're doing the purple one,
Correct.
the one with the date at the top revised 9/9/24.
The one with more purple.
Yes.
And why do we need these other versions if we're going to be just looking at this one?
Because the other one's a clean copy, except for one little thing.
yeah, it's a clean copy. That's all.
Okay,
One is purple lined and one is
Okay.
clean.
I'm sorry, so I'm not sure I understand what I'm looking at then. I thought that the one that I pulled off the city website was not the final version. That this red line was that, and then with a bunch of alterations.
Yes, it should say 9/9/24 on top.
so this is the original and this is the changed,
Oh, okay.
one of two.
Right.
The purple dated one, where it says dated is the new version, where it's with some items struck us now. And this is the original copy before this one was even worked on,
I'm gonna take that.
correct?
No, I think the one with more purple on it
Yeah,
is the red line version. The one with less purple on it
Yeah.
is
The clean
the clean copy without, so this is the newest.
okay,
This is
All right.
what, this is so you can see what the changes are.
Yeah.
This is the new thing.
okay.
This is okay.
And the reason the
Got it.
clean copy is not
That was
cleaner
the other
is
one.
because I left a comment on there that didn't. put it.
So right now, what we're talking to now is just a clean one?
No, look
Well,
at the red line.
okay.
David.
You can
The
look at
red,
whichever.
the red line will tell you where the changes were made.
Okay,
We all got the one that we.
Yeah.
Discussed,
8/28.
yeah, 8/28, right?
Yeah.
So then we went through this and.
Yeah.
Okay, so that resulted in changes.
Yeah.
Don reflected all of those changes in the red line version, in this instance laterally, but yeah, that's a red line.
and legal's gone through it too?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, legal
All
haven't
right.
seen it.
They'll probably go through.
But this red line is after conversations between the two of you, correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Got it. Okay, that's, okay.
yeah, so and just,
Perfect.
And did Ryan get
Let's-
copies?
No,
Oh, would you send those over to Ryan?
Yes.
well, okay. I have, to be honest with you, I'm also having some technical issues opening all the attachments that Liz did send me. I have the agenda packet with me. Are we reviewing something other than what was in the packet?
Yes,
Okay,
the agenda packet versions dated August 28th, and we're looking at revisions that were made Monday, the 9th.
Gotcha. Mr. Chair,
yes, sir.
just, I thought it might be helpful for EJ's benefit if we back up even further and kind of spend a second talking about how we got here. The city council meeting, I think what was it, August 20th or something?
Something like that, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so August 20th. My perception, I was there, you were there.
Mhm.
Both of you, I think
Yeah,
EJ and
he was
Jesse were there.
Yeah.
So all right, I'm just talking about my perception that I took away was we need to not only get this done, I said November, right? They're getting sick of it. We're probably getting tired of it. Let's just get something finished. Number two, maybe that 3-tiered thing and lead agencies and all that stuff was a little too complicated. So that's why at the very next UGB meeting of this committee, I suggested verbally, you know what about if we take a different approach? And we kick that around a little bit, and it seemed like it had some traction, the alternative approach. David said, well, I'd kind of like to see it in writing. We have the 3-tier as option 1, and this alternative will be option 2. Let's take a look at both of them. Okay, great. So then Don very kindly took all the notes from that UGB meeting and prepared this document dated 8/28. And then it was discussed, and maybe this was prior to that meeting, actually. Yeah. So then, as he indicates in one of these things, that the consensus of the committee was, why don't I get together with Don and try to get this thing into some kind of shape to where it could be considered by the committee formally for a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So therefore, I think the first thing we need to do is to follow David's direction. We have the 3-tiered idea, and we had that also prepared in the form of a draft MOU. That's the one that went to the council that it seemed like they hated. So that's option 1. Option 2 was just as described. The culmination of which is the red line / purple line. So that's how we got it.
Okay, okay. I would again like to take 5 minutes or so, maybe a little longer, and read through this and make a couple of notes before we entertain questions and comments. So,
I have a comment before we start that.
okay,
My birthday is listed on here, no celebration.
I'm afraid,
I make a motion, we have a cake.
yeah, is that today?
No, it was August 22nd.
Oh, August 22nd.
Yeah, okay, we can have a belated cake.
There we go.
Liz will get a cake first. Some cold
Yeah,
pizza.
some cold pizza in the fridge.
Handle it.
I got some at home too from the pizza truck. Okay.
took out at least one of them. How do you like that part of it? You have second thoughts about it? You sold me on it. You talked me into it. I think I liked it. Oh, I see.
I,
Before you start, are you Ready to
Almost.
continue the discussion?
I almost am ready to continue the discussion. I was gonna say, 2.1.4 there is just a cut and paste of our current general plan, in case anybody was wondering.
Not actually part of. That page not actually a piece of the MOU.
Not needed for the MOU, but will be a part of this
It
process.
was a reference, right?
Image.
Yeah.
Yes, it's an image.
Are David, Jack, are you ready to continue the conversation? Or do you need a few more minutes?
Maybe. 1 minute.
Okay, no worries. That's all good. Take all the time you need. So that's me. Cheryl calls me. Text me on my website. Talk to you. Bridget. You guys are on the baby. Freaking out. So I was already on my way. I talked to the car from the office. Call her. Talked to Rihanna. I talked to her today. I left before the kids woke up. Take pictures with her. Talk to her. Bring on generation crying. Talk to her. Sister's having surgery. She's freaking out. And so we're talking to her. And make something important.
So this.
Middle of having this conversation. Switches for surgery. And yeah, it's been photos. It's really better. I have a plan. She was like, seriously, guys. I was like, I see that. She was homesick. Family counseling.
I was telling Chris. We've been having this, I almost call it, county district unsupervised.
In the meantime,
Is that dude,
it's like a
Montecito.
yeah.
In Montecito, has the recreation commission, their own local meeting.
It's like the worst online game.
City, they're not doing anything.
No, it's amazing stuff.
So all that they have set up is elaborate. And where security is all at the blessing of the supervisors.
So it's kind of married down to Canada.
Is staying on the planning commission?
Yeah.
And have a conversation.
It is. It is. The supervisors, so those planning commissioners in Montecito serve at the pleasure of the citizens of our. And the question I wanted to ask him was if I didn't do it, but I'm curious. I'd love to ask this guy over coffee. How is it that you and Montecito get what Montecito has to say about something such a great way?
Shall we proceed? Good to go. Okay. Right on. Okay, let's see. I guess we just go around, shall we? David, you want to kick us off?
As far as the purple version or whatever it's gonna call it.
Whichever,
This, the change, what?
your mic's not
I
on.
would, oh, I'm sorry.
I would like to have either Don or Dan to read through it and
Walk us
if
through.
you walk us through it, verbally
Okay.
and see if that may highlight some questions, concerns. I'd like to see that happen.
Okay.
Sure.
Dan, why don't you?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
First, I can say just by way of commentary that I read it pretty carefully. I thought Don did a really great job of capturing not only our comments from our last meeting, but the meetings that conversations I had with him. So I'm very happy with the purple line revisions. I think it turned out great. Kind of pulling a fast one a little bit on Don here because my feelings changed a little bit since the last time I spoke with you. So it's not your fault, mine.
You're an attorney, right? No offense, Ryan, no
I think
offense.
it falls more into a woman's prerogative or something, although I'm not identifying as a woman right now. Hey, relax.
Unless you change your mind. Okay.
Okay, whatever prerogative then, I changed my mind. I like the blue areas and I like keeping. the
However you
plan-
identify.
I like keeping the planning area boundary the same as what we had. Because I was looking over at the area to the west of us in particular. The east, not as much, but to the west of us, you know, that Rocks Road that goes through there. There's some important properties over there that I think we would want to know about just as much as developments in the other areas.
When you say the planning area, you're eliminating the blue areas? Or are you including the blue area?
Originally, I said, let's make it even more simple per the council's direction.
One color
One color,
Right,
and everything that we see blue, yellow and orange
the planning area.
right?
is
Last-
is all in one color now, instead of three.
That'd be this alternative concept, David.
Yeah. So David.
Okay,
David, when he originally brought this up, he suggested perhaps eliminating the blue.
exactly.
removing the blue.
Now we're
But
gonna
now
include it.
he's suggesting that we include it and go out to the original ultimate boundary.
Yep.
But just eliminate the tiers within.
Got it.
One of the reasons also is certainly is that the council already approved that planning area boundary, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And because we're really making this so simplified, it's not adding anything to speak of, so.
Well, it's also consistent with the council's resolution.
That's right, exactly. That's kind of what I meant when the council already approved it, so.
So changing it to one color still is consistent.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
it's the council resolution approved the UGB line, the SOI line, and the planning area line, so all those are still
Just the line.
unaffected, just the lines, right? Not what happens. So that's a good segue. What happens? So what this approach, we can call it the alternative approach, does is it creates a dynamic between our city and the county of San Benito, whereby the county receives an application at the counter on Technology Drive where the sheriff's department is. Now, as soon as they receive that application, it gets scanned and emailed over to Don, city planner, associate city planner. Don just told me as a sidebar that they're looking at applications. Whoever the city's designee is for receipt of an application like that. And that's the county's way of saying to us, hey, we got some interest in an application, or we received an application for a project in your planning area. Here it is. And then once the city receives that, then it's all about us. It's not necessarily an agreement with the county necessarily, but the concept would be once the city receives that application, okay, great. And then it would go on to the San Juan Planning Commission agenda for discussion. Maybe that gets us through. If you're following along on this thing. See. One thing I skipped, and this was city manager Don's concept, which I think is great, is that, well, A says city and county planning staff will meet to discuss proposals, inquiries, and development interests as they arise. Just in general. But then B is a little more specific. The county RMA will present potential new projects and applications to the planning commission on a quarterly basis. And I think some of us were around when Abraham Prado from the county came and said, oh, we got this, that, and the other thing going on. A lot of which was news to a lot of folks, and they thought, holy smokes, it was nice to be given a heads up. And some of the stuff didn't even necessarily impact us that much.
Dan, at the top there, you're saying planning commission quarterly. Is that county planning commission?
No,
City?
applications, right. The county RMA will present potential new projects and applications to the county planning commission.
Right. I think you should identify it as such,
Yeah, that's true, David. And it's not even to the application.
because you got a lot of planning commission
Right.
notations
I had
there.
intended that to be the city's planning commission.
Yeah,
The-
B
the-
is
the county-
referencing
county
the-
Staff comes here quarterly.
Yeah, so we're talking about
Oh.
letter B.
But his, okay,
He's asking which planning commission that's,
he's right. This is just wordsmithing.
yeah.
I'm sure this will get all cleaned up in
I
a final
got that.
draft.
Thank you.
So it's gonna be city.
Gonna be
Yeah,
city.
okay,
Yeah, but the idea is that the county will send a designee,
which is cool.
planning director, principal planner, whomever. And they'll come to a San Juan Planning Commission here meeting and say, hey, this is what we know of. As I said to Don the other day, the goal there would be for us to say, we want to know what you know. Right?
Right. And this is only for the area of concern.
Correct.
Right.
And just a footnote, an important thing to realize is that by the time an applicant has turned in a formal application with the check paperclip to it, usually, that applicant may have met with county staff 3 or 4 times to scope the project. What do you think? You know, blah, blah, blah. And those meetings could take place over months before there's even an application. Well, we want to know about those too. In other words, what have you been hearing? Well, we heard this one guy wants to do a golf course underneath the mission. Has he applied? No. But he's been asking around. And we want to know about that. What do you mean a golf course under the mission? You know? We want to know what you know. So that's what Don came up with, which I think is brilliant for B. Yeah.
So my question there is do potential applicants, not applicants, you know, once they've applied, their applicants, potential applicants beforehand, are they afforded any privacy in their conversations with and this is a question for you, Ryan. Are they afforded any privacy before actually filing? Does you know?
No, I don't think there's any right to privacy in that.
Okay.
Any communications with city staff would be public, I believe.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
If they're sitting down with the county employees saying this is what we're thinking of doing, then that's not on a confidential basis.
No, but I think it's a reasonable question, because I think that's. Sorry, I think it's a reasonable question because I think that's the sort of thing we've seen in the past here. I mean, you and I experienced that with, you know, a previous city manager where, you know, we know there was a lot of machinations going on with applicants long before anything became public.
Mhm.
And so I think that's a very good question.
But therefore what? What's the point?
He just wants to make it clear that the applicant does not have some, or potential applicant doesn't have some perceived right to privacy. If they're bouncing ideas and projects off the city staff, that becomes public, you know, subject to public inquiry. And
Yeah.
so eliminates that. And that's where you get letter A. He's just trying to avoid any legal pitfalls. And
Mhm.
so I think that's a good question.
Yeah, no, totally. Absolutely. So then we talked about when an application is, so A and B are designed to catch, if you will, instances where there hasn't been a formal application submitted yet. But nevertheless, the county has been made aware of something that we might think about or want to think about. And then they will include that in their quarterly report to us. When a formal application is received by the county, they send it over here. City staff puts it on the planning commission agenda. The idea here, David, is that the planning commission then will schedule a time for this applicant to come over and describe their project to us. County does something very similar. Do we have anyone from the county on right now? Is Ariel's not on? Dang it. The county does something similar. They call it a public scoping meeting. They don't do it on every project, but just the ones of some moment. And they do it in the county administration building. And the applicant stands up and it's kind of a dog and pony show. You know, they do sometimes slides and PowerPoints and all this stuff, but it enables the public, and in this case, the city, to understand what's being proposed from the perspective of the applicant, himself or herself. This is what I'm envisioning. So that's what little d addresses. One of the things that Don caught, which I think is also great, is that the county then will send over almost like a cheat sheet to us. Hey, Joe Schmo's on his way over there. He's gonna meet with you October 12th for Lazy Acres. Here's what we think about, or what we've seen so far about Lazy Acres, San Juan, just so that we have something. Okay, it's 20 units. It's on 14.8 acres. They have a well. They're looking to get city sewer. Just kind of a sketch from the county, so that we just don't receive this information cold. The City Planning Commission provides informal feedback to the applicant. So after this presentation is made, then we as a community, through our City Planning Commission, would like an opportunity to tell the applicant, well, thank you for coming over and presenting to us. Here's what we think about it. Maybe we hate it, maybe we love it, maybe we don't like it that much, but would like it more if ... number of units was cut down, or the ingress egress was addressed differently, or maybe the height, size, and massing is wrong, or whatever the city's feedback might be. That can then be conveyed back to the county. And this doesn't say so, but I think the vision there that we talked about when we were, this is all the stuff that went into the tiers, by the way. We had some similar things in when we're talking about the tiers. The vision there, I believe, was a letter signed by the chair of the planning commission to the county planning director, saying, thank you for the opportunity to review this project. We've done so. And here's what we thought, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And preparing that in the form of a letter would then allow city manager to provide input into that letter, or city engineer to provide thoughts into that letter, so that the county gets back from us a pretty good sense of how San Juan Bautista feels about the application that they are going to be processing.
After the first presentation.
Correct, right. So you and I are on the planning commission.
Yeah.
We hear one of these presentations. Public comments closed. Chair will ask, so how do you feel about it, Commissioner Medeiros? Well, I've got concerns about this, that, and the other thing. Whatever, someone's gonna be taking really good notes, so that that feedback can then be conveyed over to, yeah, Liz, I know that's what I said. I said, well, good thing we got the world's best note taker. But that feedback can then be conveyed back to the county, where it can do some good and be incorporated.
Okay, formally, it's been on record. And okay, and now it sits at the end of the session. We have a presentation, comments, all recorded. It's sitting there on record.
Mhm.
And okay, so now we're there. Where do we go from there?
Well, now the next thing that happens in the process is that the municipality, in this instance, the county, because it's their project, their process, they are going to attach conditions of approval. Very, very important. Hugely important. The other thing that happens that's really important are what's called mitigation measures. Those are the function of CEQA. Whether you're doing a mitigated negative declaration or an EIR, the whole purpose of CEQA is to determine whether a project has impacts, and if those impacts can be mitigated down to a level where they're less than significant. And if they can be mitigated, how are you going to mitigate them? How is this going to be done? Very specific stuff. County's going to do all of that. But San Juan might think, did you guys get everything? You sure? Can we take a look? So Don put in there, county will send, and he's got a real life true story to a county project where his planning guy did catch added a whole bunch of really good conditions sent that back to the county and they were incorporated into the project, weren't they? So it's an opportunity for San Juan to say, "Look, we want to see those conditions and make sure you guys got it. And if you don't, here's what we think, put some other ones in there. And have those then be included for the approval. Now, county can say, oh, thanks, San Juan, but we're not going to include yours. Or the applicant can say, wait a minute, you're conditioning too much, you're requiring too much, San Juan. And that's why K is almost, and that caught my eye when I was talking with Don on Monday. It caught my eye again this morning. That almost operates like an appeal of some kind. And I'm agnostic on the whole idea, but I think, and Don can elaborate on this, I think the idea with K is that if either the city's not happy with conditions or the applicant doesn't like something that San Juan added on, then it could be taken up with the city council. Is that the idea there, Don?
Right, the situation when I first came on board, some of you may remember in 2019 was the whole development of the county's 101 intersections. And in June, when my contract was approved, the city attorney was directed to write a letter on behalf of the city for the mayor to sign protesting those nodes. And then my first council meeting was in fact that letter being approved and being sent. And that had some impact, I suppose, because the development wasn't approved. So that's like the most powerful thing we can do to voice an opinion and to take a side, and trying to inform developers that are, when you have a project close to San Juan Bautista, that our feedback matters.
Yeah, that's the goal.
I have a question. So you're talking about the sorry.
Are you referring to the Bettable nodes, the highway one, the 4 nodes?
I believe so, yeah. I'm trying-
Okay.
5 years ago. So.
Yeah, because that letter didn't hold a lot of weight or teeth because the owner of the Bettable node, land property at that node did develop, but it's now stalled in a litigation.
Oh, is that what's happening there?
Yeah.
Because the building's done, right? The big barn
It's
is.
in litigation,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
So K is like an appeal, a pressure relief valve, I guess, if somebody has heartburn over the conditions to the council. Like I said, I'm indifferent. I don't care. F. Once then, we have had a presentation. We've given some feedback. That feedback hopefully has been.
Yeah, you're getting, the feedback goes into a letter.
Correct. That's how.
And who's putting the letter together?
The planning commission, and it's signed by the chair. And the contributors to a letter like that could be commissioners, could be the city manager, could be the city engineer, the city attorney,
Yeah,
whomever.
so the applicant is with us, presentation, our concerns are reported, put in a letter. Do we hand it to the applicant that time? No, it goes to the planning commission at the county.
Eventually, but it's gonna take a minute to put it all together.
Yeah,
But that's its final destination.
Okay.
That's the first letter.
Yeah.
And then we go into the step where we're now, the county's conditioning the project. We want to make sure they get it right, add some conditions if we think it's appropriate. And then, that's going to be a letter, potentially. Maybe we think, Don, I didn't think about this. Maybe we think that they've conditioned it perfectly. Therefore, we don't need to say anything. No, it's good. Maybe that's what the letter says. These look great.
Or they've taken our advice and we've double checked them and we're cool with that.
Maybe the letter
Yeah,
says that. That's right. Yeah,
yeah.
so maybe it's not.
yeah, I was thinking you have a section in here which says if it doesn't meet what we're expecting, why don't we put another section here that says if and when it does, everything looks good, let's go with that. And after the first letter, everything looks good. Do we need another section and say, see, you have a section here that says if we're not satisfied, but shouldn't there be a section in here when we are satisfied?
Yeah.
In a letter?
I think that's next.
Okay,
That's I.
that would be J.1
Yeah,
and J.2.
which one is that?
I think that's next.
I would say aye, but
Okay,
For simplicity's sake, is it necessary to, to state conditions for if we like it or if we don't? Shouldn't we just state we should have an opportunity for feedback? We don't say what that feedback is, but at every major milestone, at every turning point, we would like to be afforded time for feedback. I don't think we need to get any more specific than that. And then the feedback can be whatever the sentiment or feeling is of the time, whether it's positive or negative. We just want to, we want to have our touch points and we identify exactly when those touch points are.
yeah, I mean, I think we're doing that in here.
It is, it's, my opinion is it's not very plain,
It's not very what?
plain and simple.
How could it be plainer or simpler?
I just described that.
By not providing conditions or suggestions?
No, just
I don't
feedback. He used the word feedback.
Oh, feedback.
Yeah, whether
I
that's.
get the sentiment. I think we need to get through this first and then start working on it. But I think you should continue with the summary first, and then we'll come back. But
Well, yeah, so conditions and mitigation measures are really important, and the city could provide feedback on what we think of the county's swipe at that. And that feedback can, then we can talk about what the feedback might consist of. And then once all of that's done, then, okay, the question would be, okay, San Juan, how do you feel about this project now? You support it or not support it? Maybe after all of this, the city still doesn't like it, does not want to support it. So a letter of not supporting it would go out. Conversely, if everything has been conditioned as much as possible, mitigated San Juan's position and desires we feel have been reflected, maybe we support it. And then we send out a letter saying, yeah, we support this, San Juan supports this project. The end, done. So the real question, if you want to get next level, is therefore how do you make a developer and an applicant really, really want that letter of approval from San Juan? They want it badly so that there'll be a feather in their cap, because they still have to go through the county planning commission, board of supervisors, maybe if there was an appeal. They still have a lot of discretionary approvals ahead of them. But my own personal feeling is that we would want them to feel like, boy, if we don't get, and we want the county to feel that if San Juan doesn't support your project because of its close proximity to them, you better go work it out with them, whatever their issues were. Go talk to them, see what can be done, because San Juan's support for this project is very important. Great weight, we say a couple of times. How do you do that? I'm not sure.
oh, okay.
Other than great weight.
do we do it as a commission, or is city council is to do it?
Do what?
What you're saying, if, how do we give it weight in as far as,
I mean, other than what, Don put in there, the county shall give San Juan's opinion, which is basically all this is, opinion, great weight. What more can you do besides that?
yeah, do we recommend it to city council after we approve it? In other words, saying, is that the muscle we need? And is it in that language? Is something a policy we need to put in a general plan? I don't know.
I don't,
To give it more jizz?
I don't know.
yeah,
Just trying
it's
to
a
think of
thought.
ways to.
It's a thought. I mean, it's something to consider. It's something to consider.
Yeah.
It's like to ruminate on it. Anything else, David? Does this seem?
Yeah.
Straightforward?
Yeah, I think we're on the right track here.
Okay, thanks.
Do you like this?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Jacqueline, did you wanna,
Well,
you have a lot of
yeah,
notes there.
yeah, because there's a
Oh.
lot of steps.
Yes, there are.
And within each step, there's a lot of mandates or suggestions, so it's not just step 1 through 11 that I counted,
Mhm.
which is B through L.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so my original comments were on the red line version, and then I went over to the cleaned up version. And so within those steps that I counted, starting from letter B to L, I counted 11 steps for me.
Wow.
And so my concern was from the informal project presentation or the public scoping down to the final approval or written position that the city would take, city of San Juan. So in this, in the document, when we say city, we're referring to San Juan Bautista. I think we need to have a legend. I agree with somebody that was asking that. County, it does say the county planning commission, city planning commission would be San Juan Bautista, city council would be San Juan Bautista. So that would be more clear and concise. But within those steps, my question comes to me is that, you know, there's one that says on C, little c, when a development application pay for a submitted, that doesn't make sense.
No,
There's
to
a,
be paid for and submitted, you're right, there's a typo
yeah,
there.
there's a,
A typo.
yeah, typo.
And indeed,
Yeah, to the RMA, it will be shared immediately with the city planning staff. So that means San Juan Bautista. So immediately is very objective or subjective, excuse me, term, because what I think is immediate might not be what you think is immediate. You might say 2 weeks, I might say now or tomorrow, right?
I think you were reading off my computer while I was taking notes.
No.
That's what I think is happening.
Maybe we agree on some stuff, EJ. So. So
I agree on more things with her son.
Yeah,
He's an excellent guy.
yeah, he is cool. So immediately that pops up. So we gotta hone these people in because they can say, hey, you know, that's like 6 months. I mean, yeah, yeah, like when? Okay, so then,
if I could just elaborate on that a little bit, I agree, maybe 24 hours, 48 hours, 2 working days or
yeah,
something. But when you're a planner and you're working at a busy planning counter, as I've seen in Salinas, you have a line, first of all, of 5 developers.
like
And-
Chick-fil-A,
Yeah, and they're all told to bring in 12 sets of plans.
right?
And what the planner's doing is he's attaching right there at the counter while the developer's still there, is the routing slip, and he's checking building, engineer, fire.
Jeez.
And he puts the whole stack together and like Frisbees, he's just like Christmas, and they're distributed. So one of those says, City of San Juan, and we used to use brown mail to get things to the county in the brown envelopes. And he'd stuff it in a brown envelope and someone would bring it over here. So
So-
it's just it's just part of the intaking an application.
So immediate would then have a specific time frame, you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's fair, especially because
Say like 72 hours would be,
2
be,
working days or something like that.
so we would, so counting, not counting weekends, you know, that whole thing about.
We'll talk to the county and what they feel is
Yeah,
reasonable.
and why I'm getting to that is because getting from little b or my number 1 all the way down to 11, I work numerically better. The last final stop 11 or L, and actually even by K, are we interfering with the legal aspect of when a person submits a permit, gets, you know, there's like a time frame.
Right.
And can this project or owner of the development come back and say, you guys really interfered with my project, you're costing me another 100K, I'm gonna sue you.
In the past, when the county has asked for our feedback, they've given us a firm deadline, like a drop dead date. So that way they are not in jeopardy of breaking a law, permit streaming act or something like that.
Yeah, Jackie, I mean, there is a legal framework
Mhm.
that falls within that. And if we're not able to respond, that's on us.
Okay.
And
'Cause-
they're not, we're not gonna get, they're not gonna hold, we're not asking them to hold up the project if we can't respond. And I think and it's a good call out because we probably need to say that at
we
some
need to
point.
have it
Probably
not
in the-
just
in the-
inferred.
In the
by
qualifications in the
Maybe
beginning.
know that, 'cause maybe
Yeah.
Pam was it, he's
Yeah.
a land attorney,
But-
but for us like me that are not in that realm, I'm in medicine.
Right.
It needs to be, I think, kind of spelled out a little bit more specifically. Would you agree? Okay,
So,
Keeping off my notes, I don't have anything.
okay,
so
psychic,
I think that that's why I had suggested that we have a conversation or a presentation on that process
Mhm.
to the committee. So that to enlighten exactly that point. And I think though, but I do think this falls, I am comfortable having gone through it and discussed it. I'm confident that we can live within those bounds with this, with what's described here, because that stopwatch starting, it kicks in at a very specific point, and then they have X amount of time. So
right,
there's quite a bit of time in there, because it doesn't actually start at the very beginning at A. So A doesn't start the clock that says you have 60 days to get this done. That clock starts much later in the process. But to your point, it's a very good point, and we need to,
yeah, because,
I think in the definitions or in the enumerations at the beginning, for instance, in the legalese at the beginning, we should say I'm sure the county council's gonna have to say that, we need to get this feedback in a timely fashion that
Right.
falls within the state guidelines, or we're gonna proceed without your feedback.
right. And then speaking further to that, I noticed on small D, or my number 3, the project will be scheduled for informal project, parentheses, presentation on earliest city planning commission agenda possible. So there again,
Yeah.
possible, or within 30 days.
Mhm.
So, just tightening that up. And then I think everything in here is great.
Right.
But I'd like to see that the designated city planning staffer, whether it's the new associate hire that we're gonna get,
Mhm.
is with us at every step of the way, because, we're volunteers. I'm not a
Yeah.
planner.
No, that's not, that shouldn't be your job.
Yeah.
No, so
Okay.
we need to have expertise, guiding us and giving us feedback, like, keeping us kind of
Sure, on track.
on track. with
No,
this. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I like it. I think it's the intent overall
Yeah.
is that we have a say. We have feedback.
Yeah.
We are important. We are the historical capital of the county, except for we have a national park.
I gotta say, we're your logo.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I've talked too much.
No, thank you. EJ?
Let me see what I can share that Jackie didn't already steal from me. My first point that I wrote down was, with this draft that I've seen here, I think I agree and I understand and agree with the intent.
Gotcha.
So,
Right.
given my feedback, understand that, like, from the meaning, the letter of the law, whatever you want to call it, I agree with most of what I'm reading.
Good.
Or the idea of it. The feedback is wordsmithing and
Yeah.
how you want to present. Yeah, and so my first comment is, I understand we will need a bunch of steps. And I kind of already mentioned this, but like, plainly and simply state
Sure.
the things in the steps and be specific where we absolutely have to, and general and plain where by default. And that was my comment about, like, we don't need to build into the memorandum of understanding, hey, a process by which we approve or a process by which we don't like it. All we really want, my understanding of the intent is, we want to be afforded the opportunity to be notified, allowed time to review and provide feedback at certain touch points. And I think the only thing I saw that was really missing, sorry, I started taking notes in a different area, is, I understand you were getting very specific with, like, they've got certain touch points and things. I think if we more generally, we could say something like, at any approval or major milestone, right? Any gotchas, anything where something big is happening with this project, we want that notification, that communication again. Like, every time you have one of those, I don't think we need to be, and then there's no And we can provide examples of, and sorry, I don't know the specific terminology, but we can provide examples of things like this, things like that, but like plainly state that before any approval and any major milestone of a project,
Mhm.
we'd like that kicks off that feedback loop again.
And I think that's really helpful because approved projects get modified.
Yeah.
And we have not even touched on if a project is modified, major modification, minor modification, you know.
Mhm.
Okay.
You're gonna have to cancel your Italy trip if we're gonna do that too.
What's that?
No, we
Sorry.
can, that's a good point. Yeah, nothing in this, none of this addresses what happens if they come, he's talking about,
Oh, yeah, I heard.
once you jump through all the hoops you need to, the project is entitled to do what? Entitled to be built. And so now the developer is happy, they're entitled, the county gave them their permits. But they may nevertheless come in because they want to modify something.
Yeah.
And to EJ's touch points, do we want to know about that too?
Yeah, I
He's
mean,
nodding his head, yeah.
the gas,
You made a deal. You gotta change the deal. I want to know.
the gas
like-
station came in for solar panels on the island.
Well, I mean,
And
with
then he
EJ's
sold it-
house, they
and
want to
then-
plant trees in his backyard.
Well, and then they sold it to his nephew. His nephew had his own kids, right? And they didn't have EV stations. The gas station I've seen change 4 or 5 times
Yeah.
since I've been.
So that
The
was
retaining wall behind EJ's house is not the right material. Of course, of course.
So EJ, are you suggesting then that this MOU have a new portion that deals with modifications?
No.
no, I'm suggesting that when we, what I'm suggesting that, like you guys have very specifically asked for touch points on certain milestones. I think instead of being very specific about each one of those, we take a step back and define all milestones and all progress points and say, post approval, we want touch points on all of those is what we're asking for. And that we and maybe in an example and in whatever you want to call it, you could provide those, but yeah, generally say we want to be afforded, we define a touch point process,
Right.
how we do that. And we want that process for all major or all, however you want to word it, but
Sure.
approvals and milestones.
Okay, I think, Dan, I think that's why specifically why I'd like to have a presentation on the planning process for a project. Because I think a lot of what you're describing is covered here, but it would be great we just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Because what you're describing as a major milestone or touch point, we just want to make sure we're all talking the same language.
Yeah, and in listening to them, maybe we don't get into the major mile, whatever. We just, at any point where you have an approval,
right,
wave your
right.
flag.
And I think we're close. I think we're very close. But Dan, or excuse me, Don, can you work on that for our next meeting?
The next meeting is scheduled the 25th.
So no, you can't, right?
I can do it for October.
Do we have another resource? Maybe we could get Ariel or someone from the
He
county.
doesn't need to be here to invite them, right?
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Great. Well, I saw a communication. Yeah, I saw well, but we want to make sure she's prepared and
To describe the planning process.
yeah.
Yeah, if we could ask her to give
And ideally, a handout that, so we can to see that.
I could ask Erica to be here. Erica Fraser is our planner, so she's retired
Okay,
Santa Barbara
perfect.
planning process. So
Perfect.
maybe she and Ariel can come on the 25th.
Are you're leaving tomorrow, Don?
Yes,
Okay. Do you want to,
I'm leaving San Juan tonight.
I understand. Do you want to give me a contact for that person and just
This is how to reach Ariel, and we've invited them before. So
okay, well, you're suggesting somebody from our planning contractor, right?
Erica, yeah.
Okay. So I'll follow up with you, Liz, and we'll close that loop.
Retired.
Okay, good.
City of Santa Barbara?
Yes.
She made
It's all
some
coming out of your budget.
Yeah.
Where's your credit card?
Friday afternoon, I was thinking, you didn't have to be here. Right, EJ?
I don't think it'll
Yeah.
take as long as that,
Budget
but
lunch is here.
sure, sure.
Friday afternoon, I'll be here at 1.
So, okay, let me rein this in a little bit. So did you have further comments, CJ?
Yep.
You did, yeah, good.
Yeah.
And using the word feedback too, rather than up or down. or-
Yeah.
Great.
There was this, in A, the way it's worded seems to go beyond notification.
Yeah, when you say a, little a or big A?
Little A.
Little a is just a. It is not like formal notification. The idea is, that's just those, guy comes in, says he wants to build a racetrack, on the other side of the water tower. And it's those 500 acres and to connect to our sewer system, how do we feel about that?
Okay, yeah.
And, because it's that informal, because a lot of those conversations, as we've seen, unfortunately, that they start with some pretty crazy shit that somebody comes up with. And then, when the community gets a wind of it, it becomes obvious that there's no interest. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess so that I don't belabor the point with each and every one of my comments. This isn't the first time this is the first time I've seen this. I read the previous MOU and drafts.
Streamline.
The plain and simple, like,
Yeah.
I want to be able to read the steps without needing explanation
I understand.
and conversation to really understand the point of each step. And I can take a stab at, I for my own satisfaction, I think what I might do is take a stab. I've already taken notes here, but write out what I think the steps are saying.
Yeah.
And outline that to bring forward so that, like, I guess that's just my main point. I want to be able to read through the MOU and not need a
Yeah, understood.
Instructor.
therapy session after.
Yeah. So what I wrote down was you want to read it without needing explanation.
Yep, and I think
Okay.
that would,
That-
as I've talked to people around the city and constituents, most people, like, I think, feel the same way. They want to be able to read it without having to.
I got you.
Anybody,
Yeah, anybody should be able to read it and understand what's going on,
Sure.
what
Okay.
we're asking for, and what will be agreed upon.
Okay.
I don't need to say anything.
You good?
No, I'm not gonna say it though.
Write it down.
No, it's okay.
Dan, did you have anything further?
No.
Okay. Okay. So
Dan. You were talking about the weight of our decisions. Do we need to explore that any further today?
Well, I was in,
I'd like to make my comments first.
Oh, I'm
if
sorry.
I may, on the document, but I think it's a very good point. I'd like to just do this first.
Go.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think I feel like the consensus was that we are going to keep the outer boundary of the planning area and simply eliminate the 3 colored tiers. It just becomes the planning area en masse, one lump, and all of these actions or so forth pertain to the entire area. Is that, we think that feels comfortable for everybody? Yes. Okay, good. So that's good. So 5A, big A, Don? The last couple of words are without the blue section, so that should just be, can strike that. I think we're done with that. I agree with Jackie. I think it is largely very good in terms of its referencing city versus county, but I think we should just take another pass through it with an eye to that to make sure there's absolutely no ambiguity about whether it's the city planning, city staff, city county, the planning commission, which planning commission. It's really the planning commission where it could become ambiguous. I think that A and B can potentially be combined just into a single by incorporating some of the language from A into B and just pulling that together.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a step gone.
Can see that.
The step E, I think also can probably be, to me, that should be in should be part of C. Because I think, Dan, what you're describing, or what Don, you were describing, I'm not sure where this got generated, but it's an analysis of the development proposal, summarizing its strengths and weaknesses. I think you were somebody described that as sort of a checklist that they use. And to me, that could be part of the information that's transmitted to us in step C. Am I missing something there, or is that something different? It is, or,
I was thinking of something different.
oh, okay,
There are a lot of times when we receive, just recently in the past 2 weeks, we received an EIR for a project. A comment was open for 30 days. And the city had the ability to comment on this environmental impact report, and the project was way over by Fairview. And there was no sense, it's way outside our planning area.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so that was handled by staff, and no sense bothering you guys. And if you want to follow that project, then it'll be on the county planning commission agenda soon, and it's shown near you.
Okay, I guess I'm reading letter E, small e. And it's county generates an analysis of the development proposal. I mean, is that something they're already doing?
Yes, it's part of their process.
But at what point does it live in the process? Where do they, at what point do they do that? At noon? Oh, noon, sorry. I thought you said they do it at noon. Like over lunch. Well, I'd like to be in on that meeting.
The serious analysis of the project doesn't occur until the application is deemed complete.
Okay, so. Okay, I guess I'm having trouble with E because it seems like a step that's well, I mean, I get I like the idea of it, but I'm just not sure that's the point at which I'm not sure. It just feels out of context there. It just seems like an added, ill-defined to me. But and maybe I'm. Yeah, no, and believe me, I'm okay with that. But I'm not, if it's something they're doing that they can send us, that's fine. If it's something, that's what is unclear to me. It doesn't seem like I don't know if it's a part of their normal process. So I guess that's a question for Ariel or somebody. Dan, you look like you have something to say.
Yeah,
Enlighten me.
well, with a lot of stuff, I think there's a danger of making it bigger than it is. The idea there was that someone's going to be standing right there.
Yeah.
Planning commission is sitting where we are. And then the agenda item is going to be called. Here's Joe Smith to talk about Lazy Acres golf course underneath the mission. Okay. And then he's going to just start with his pitch. There's not going to be a staff report.
Gotcha.
Necessarily. There might be. But accompanying Joe's arrival to our hallowed halls, would it be nice, and maybe say no, it's not necessary.
Okay.
Would it be nice to have something in memo form? It could be this long.
Okay.
This is what we know about Lazy Acres golf course and condominium complex proposed by Joe Smith.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's just a cheat sheet, just a heads
gotcha.
up, a written thing to accompany the applicant when he or she arrives.
I got it.
As an aid to city staff, city
Okay.
planning commission, all that stuff. If it's unnecessary,
No, I just didn't, I just wasn't getting it, and now I get it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now it makes sense to me.
just real simple, nothing.
Yeah, no, I just, I wasn't, it's just how it falls into the steps. It was not, it was, it's intended to support D and F.
Mm-hmm.
So it's part of that.
It's a good way of looking at
Okay,
it.
okay, thank you. Okay, and. Okay, question. K, I'm still a little. So, in J. Sorry, let me back up even further. So in I, we've gotten the draft and the basically the final sort of, or theoretically final documentation from the county. And it's going to the planning commission to summarize and to provide feedback. Prior to the county planning commission finalizing, basically finalizing the project. Is that right? And then K is basically saying whatever decision comes out of that, we're reviewing. And if we don't like it, then we send it to the city council to potentially say, hey, we really don't like this, or that's fine, or nothing. They don't have to do anything, but that's what that's about. Is that not, so is, in other words, K and L seem like that's all part of the same process. Is that essentially correct? Okay. So that could probably be tightened up a little bit. Okay. I just want to make sure I was clear. Okay. Good. We got some good feedback, I think. Great. Yeah, I think that, I think having a presentation on that process will help us, because it's, talking about the dates that are the legal triggers, and those, as EJ referred to them as the major milestones, touch points, where those approval checkoffs happen. So we see it in a very clear form, because I mean, I know that when I was on the council, that was not, it was not well understood by me, certainly when I got thrown into approving Rancho Vista. When I first came onto the council, I think they were at their like third. Oh yeah, definitely the deep end of the pool. It's great. Your house is lovely.
So EJ, this is the section where we would replace feedback with not satisfied. We would remove the opinion of satisfied or not satisfied, and it would just be feedback.
For what now?
I'm sorry.
Paragraph K uses the term not satisfied, and if the planning commission is able to provide additional feedback to the county at that time, something like that.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, my thought is just to clearly define when we want to provide feedback, and clearly define those periods in which we are able to and expected to provide that feedback. I don't think we need to get specific now about positive or negative. It's
Right. Okay.
we want to provide feedback and define the times where we want to do that.
No, I think that's a good point. It's regardless of whether it's, I mean, if it's positive, we're just going to reinforce their decision. And I think that's also a way psychologically we're asserting ourselves that yes, we think that's a great idea. And or whatever. So, injecting ourselves into the process, if you will. But anyway, good. Okay. So David,
Going back to Dan and trying to put some weight into our decisions. How do we need to explore that further in this meeting, or just think about it for now, or
Well, I mean,
give us some food for thought?
Dan suggested we kidnap the planning director's children and hold them hostage for project. Ryan, that was a joke.
David, it's a great question, and I was in with Ariel on something else, and I asked her the same question. How can we make this process in San Juan that we're trying to bring into focus? How can we make county developers really, really care about what we have to say? And yeah, but let me just finish. I'll finish the thought, then I can hold it. And then Ariel's response was, "Boy, I don't know." Uh-oh. And so it's a quandary. What can you do? County, you better listen to us, or we're going to be really mad.
Well, Oh, I was gonna ask Ryan, ultimately, we can sue them, right? We can, ultimately, we could if we want.
You can always sue. I
Yeah.
never guarantee a victory though. And that is a strategy that many people employ to make things delayed and expensive and a
Yeah.
war of attrition, obviously. But yeah,
Always a
How
great
much you
option.
charge for a cease and desist letter?
those come pretty cheap. It's what follows that gets pricey.
As I was mentioning that, as far as the county structure is set up vis-a-vis our city structure, there's a really great opportunity here for whomever is in the District 2 supervisor seat to play a pivotal role.
Oh,
Because it used to be in the old days that the board would give a lot of deference to the supervisor in whose district the issue was being discussed. Oh, District 3? Okay, well, who's that? Chris, that's your district? Okay, what do you think? Chris says, this is my district. This is how I feel about it. All right, good enough for me. So, and the board would be very deferential to that supervisor. So our District 2 supervisor then, if they felt similarly, like, well, San Juan's my district, and I know they went through a very thoughtful process. They spent a lot of time coming up with it. It's simple, it's clear, and they just don't support this project. I think that we should give that great weight.
And I was gonna add, there, prior to that,
Another layer before the District 2 supervisor is his appointed or her appointed county planning commissioner.
True.
And that would be, right now it's Rich Way from Aromas District 2. And we know it's Colin Kosmicki from District 2. And sometimes, they have allies that are not in our district that they get together and they think, for the betterment of San Juan, even though that supervisor maybe is in District 5. So it's just the good old talking about it. How does it affect you? But really, the first is our district representatives at the county level, the planning commissioner, and then the supervisor.
I had a question along those lines. Could one of our planning commissioners be also on the county planning commission? Huh? What do you think?
that's our city counselor.
Why?
Counselor Ryan is that a thing?
No. What I'm saying is, yeah, so David's on the city council or the city planning commission.
Mhm.
Could Colin appoint David to the county planning commission at the same time?
Special.
No, it's his appointee
Yeah.
would be David Medeiros. David also serves on the city planning commission. So it's two
For
separate.
all purposes, though, is your hypotheticals is that okay, let me see if I can bring some clarity to what you're saying. You're suggesting that the District 2 county planning commissioner shall always be a sitting member of the San Juan Planning Commission?
No, I'm not suggesting that the county create any legal anything. I'm asking if it is legal for Colin to appoint someone or whoever the county supervisor is to appoint someone who's also on the city's planning commission to the county planning commission.
Just in general?
Just in general, yeah.
It's a conflict.
It would be, you would view that as a conflict.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I was on the county planning commission for
Right.
14 years, as you know.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to run for San Juan City Council.
Right.
And at first Patella said, yeah, sure. I said, can I be on both? He said, yeah, go for it. And then as time went on, he said, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And I checked with the Fair Political Practices Commission and they
Yeah.
said, no, that's probably not a good
Oh,
idea.
okay.
I don't know if
That was my
it's
question.
black letter law,
Right.
but there's something about there
Sketchy.
being a conflict and
Okay.
just.
Yeah, I can't cite you the government code section, but there is a provision for conflicting offices.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
I
Just
think overall not a good idea, right, Ryan?
Exactly.
good enough. Just a hypothetical.
Yeah, but I think, the sentiment that leads to that idea is a good one, which is, oh, how do we then have our input be given great weight.
Yeah.
Chris thought, well, maybe if we have one of our own there, maybe
Well,
that,
and
maybe
I-
that would do it.
Well,
And we're trying to provide great, we're trying to give our feedback in written form.
Yeah.
It's just what they do with it. You can only hope, because at the end of the day, here's the rub, David. At the end of the day, it is their ground, not ours. Jurisdictionally, it's county ground. So all we can really do, and all we can therefore really hope for, is to provide as much thoughtful input to a decision they're gonna make as we can.
There are some LAFCO provisions that I've seen, and as I read through the history of Earthbound Farms.
Uh-huh.
That when they wanted to double the size of their footprint, the city was not notified of the amendment to the conditional use permit. And they doubled the amount of sewer they sent us. Back in like 1999, back in the day, and so if we're extending our utilities.
Yeah.
We have a lot more weight.
Sure.
Than if it's just land use decision.
Sure. Jackie, did you have something? I'm sorry.
No, I
You were-
just, reiterating that our their teeth is the supervisor and the county planning commissioner.
Right.
And we should, routinely communicate with them, even inviting them to the meeting by Zoom or sending them a letter, giving them an email to keep them, abreast, because they may not know. I don't think Rich Way knows. I did send them a messenger message to let him know what was going on, but he was out of the area. He was in Nevada or something.
Yeah. EJ, any?
Yeah, I was thinking too that what do they want from us? I mean, they want to talk to us. They want to know what we think. And what will they value most from us?
They want our support for their ag preservation, right?
I mean, there's all kinds of things that we need to feed into, and what are the things that are listed in priority where we need to serve that as well as we can. And if we do that, they're looking for us to come up with something. What is that? But that's why I'm saying, if we're going to present them with a decision saying whether we like this or not, we like this because we know it's going to serve your general plan better, your district better, or whatever. What are those those buttons that really turn these people on and saying, every time we come up with something, we got to turn to you guys because you're always coming up with something. What is that? And I think we need to ask that too, when they present to us in the county, and say, what are they looking from us? Instead of just staying out of the way and watch us make things happen, you know what I mean? So it's written in the general plans, whether it be the city, we're both saying the same thing about serving each other in such a way that we'll do everything, economically, what are we doing? I mean, whatever we decide, we're all going to benefit from it, the city and serving the purpose, whatever our vision may be. I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
We can ask the county representative at the next meeting that question.
I'm gonna.
I think it's an excellent question. Just to paraphrase, if I may, David, to make sure I heard you right. The question is, county, if we're going to be developing this feedback through what we hope is a pretty thoughtful process, in what format is that feedback best delivered to you so that you can receive it in the best way? And what are some points that you would look for us to address? Could it be general plan consistency? Could it be water sewer? Could it be the counties, for example, on this huge, what do you call it, climate initiative? Ariel actually is in charge on behalf of the whole county for climate stuff. Do they want us to, when the applicant's making his pitch, do we want to ask them climate questions?
Yeah.
Are they gonna build to lead silver? Are they going to, climate emissions, whatever? What county would you like that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
What county would you like us to
Yeah.
look into?
Great.
Whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff.
And I mean, and the other thing too is what is our policy and when we communicate with one another and what we're seeking to go in what positive direction, that hits all the right buttons when it comes to when it comes to environmental, when it comes to economics, when it comes to, our heritage, Anyway.
Good.
Thank you.
The quick answer is the general plan. The general plan is our policy.
Yeah. Did you have anything to add, EJ?
Yeah, so circling back, the intent for this discussion point or this round of discussions was how do we get the county to take, our feedback seriously? How do we get them to carry great weight with that? And I think, like, at least for my part, when you're trying to negotiate with people, when you're trying to do business with them,
Mhm.
you know, putting our best foot forward in terms of being a good partner, which is what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And not just saying, oh, be nice, turn the other cheek, but like stating your intent deliberately.
Yeah.
And clear, whatever, like, hey, yes, we want to be inserted into your process.
Yeah.
Like, we're very clear about that, right? We're not asking for policy change and or rights, but
Yeah.
like, we want to be involved in this way, very plainly, right? Because these people are there to do jobs, right? And if the rules of engagement are clear and they understand how we can engage at every point and at every opportunity, such that, hey, we understand how they want to engage, and I still know how to do my job,
Sure.
right? In my mind and in my negotiations and in my professional life, when I have those type of people asking for specific and deliberate things,
Yeah.
I'm much more amenable to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am going to be forthcoming with information, not and above and beyond just what.
Sure.
What is written. But at the end of the day, I do agree with Dan's statement. Like, at the end of the day, it's county land.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get any and all say so
Yeah.
about input on their land. And so you also don't get what you don't ask for.
No, right. Well, and I will point out, you have seen this from a little different lens and angle. It was only at the point where that whole lead agency conversation began that the planning staff from the county balked at all. They were, I don't know if you know this, they incorporated this as a part of their process already. And so, that's why one of the reasons we feel real comfortable with the whole thing. And we met with 4 of the 5 county supervisors and had verbal support, in those conversations. So anyway, I feel like
Who was the 5th that you did not meet with?
Kuro.
Laura?
Kuro. She's
Is that scheduling conflict or?
it initially was, and then Scott objected to the process, and so I stopped. I didn't continue, but yeah, he objected strongly.
Well,
And so we just stopped.
I'll
And
see her tomorrow.
what's that?
I'll see her tomorrow
Great.
at LAFCO.
Oh, yeah. Well, and she's probably familiar because I know they've been talking about it. So good. Okay. So any final thoughts? Deep thoughts? Do
I
you?
think we talked it out.
My thought
Yes,
is
sir.
my thought is just with an eye towards the future, specifically the 25th, apparently.
Yeah.
Make sure I have that on the calendar, by the way. This guy's gonna be he's gonna be somewhere in Italy on his bicycle, not thinking about us at all. So what do we want to try to accomplish on the 25th? I.e., we had a lot of discussion tonight, some revisions, some language, additions, maybe touch points, milestones, things
Yeah.
like that. Is the idea, I do have that on calendar, 5:30 on the 25th. Is the idea for the 25th just to receive a presentation from someone from the county on the planning process? Or, for example, does somebody on a volunteer basis want to take what Don prepared for us tonight, that purple line, and incorporate stuff from tonight into it, so we have another document to look at on the 25th?
Yeah, I think very, very definitely we need to move the ball forward. I'm very willing to take a pass at it.
That'd be awesome. You are?
Yeah. if you guys are comfortable with that, I'll take a pass at it.
I am personally going to do that for myself.
Great.
And with a lens towards like what we talked about,
Yeah.
trying to simplify and understand. And so I think at the very least, I could provide you
Yeah,
with that.
that'd be great. Yeah,
And maybe
maybe
you and I collaborate
maybe
on that.
yeah, maybe in a week we could circle back and bounce those off each other if you are amenable.
Yep.
Okay, great. Are you guys comfortable with the two of us taking that as a in order to prepare for the next meeting?
I'll let you know.
Yes, okay. Yeah,
And
okay.
you're able to attend? Do you have Moss Landing? Do you have the other meeting? Yeah.
This is so much more interesting.
You're gonna need somebody looking at it from the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
That's something that.
yeah.
Let's see if we can get Erica.
Well,
to
and
come in
that's why
person.
we want it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah.
So the other,
Maybe Erica can come in person,
Can we use Google Docs?
but we need someone to let her in now and that kind of stuff.
show me how, sure.
Yes.
So-
So each of those changes live.
Have Veronica flex her hours.
So what I have a couple other items, but that approval process. I want to talk about some outreach and then the conversation about the MOU, continuing the conversation. So for the next meeting, I'll circle back with Liz on that specifically. I guess we need to open this up for public comment. Seeing no one in chambers and no one online, I will close public comment. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, welcome aboard, committee members, Sabathia. And maybe today is not a very good day when you think about what's happened
Yeah.
23 years ago. So we can put some thought into that too, as well as we leave.
Well,
How fortunate we are to be living in a community that did not have to go through something like that, but we all went through it. So that, I'd like to think about that. But thank everybody for joining up, and whoever's out there in the public, I know you're there somewhere, so thank you for joining us.
okay.
Have a nice vacation.
I remember exactly where I was on my boat in Moss Landing. Okay. Do we have a motion?
Motion
adjourn?
to adjourn.
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
That was unanimous, Liz. Is that?
Good meeting, guys.